All right, Dave, picture this. You're a contestant on a futuristic game show. You have to watch the 10 best movies of the fall in theaters, or you die.
Oof.
Problem is, there's about 30 movies coming out that look great. How do you choose which ones to see?
I watch a bunch of trailers and read a bunch of reviews.
No, you fool! You listened to the fall preview episode of Picture This. Let's go to the movies! Welcome to Picture This, the podcast where we examine the weekly box office and ask, what do movie-going trends say about American culture? About our loves, our hates, our curiosities, and sometimes about the things we didn't even know we knew about ourselves. Movie-going is an American passion, but it's hit uncertain times, so mostly we are here to give you all the reasons to go see a movie in theaters the way they were meant to be seen. I'm Max, a screenwriter and son of an independent movie theater owner.
Hey, I'm Dave. Over the last 10 years, I've worked for a filmmaker, an agent, and at a movie studio in movie marketing. Today, we are pumped because we're talking about our most anticipated films of the fall. Can't wait to get to it. But first, let's do a quick update on the state of the biz.
The state of the biz is pretty solid after this last weekend, Dave. We had a one-sided, one-movie blockbuster with the final Conjuring movie, The Conjuring Last Rites, coming out. It had... Oh, man, Dave, after everything we said about how strong Weapons was with its opening, The Conjuring had an $84 million domestic debut, which
unbelievable.
is insane, even though it comes from a super successful franchise. And not only that, but it did $110 million internationally. It's just, it's astounding. What's even more astounding is, Dave, I didn't see any marketing for this movie.
It's really unbelievable, man. And as much as we talked about how much we loved Weapons, and we talked about the marketing approach and then how the film actually paid off, you and I are both just dumbfounded because I didn't see anything about Conjuring the Last Rites.
Dude, I didn't see a poster. I didn't see a billboard. I didn't see anything on Instagram. Literally nothing.
I saw like a bus bench that had it, and I thought it was outdated from the last Conjuring movie from a couple of years ago. It's unbelievable. But I think it's a testament to like, this is the fourth movie in the Conjuring lineage.
Yeah, they've built a really interesting empire out of what is based on a true story. Our mutual buddy Ed actually grew up in Connecticut, and the Warrens, this couple that does exorcism, used to come to his school on Halloween, and they would bring the Annabelle doll, and they would bring all this other stuff that they had in their creepy closets. So this is, I think, part of what's really compelling about Ed and Lorraine Warren is the fact that they're real people. Now, the movies are clearly like highly dramatized, but it speaks a lot to the power of character. Because we could call this a franchise, but there have been a lot of exorcism movies that have come out since The Conjuring 1, which came out in like 2013.
Yeah.
Like a lot of exorcism movies, and none of them are nearly as successful. And what's really compelling about the Conjuring movies is that they are essentially a love story between this married couple who goes on these crazy adventures to try and keep us all safe from the demons of the world.
Yeah, and played by two great actors, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, who are just quietly just these reliable mainstays that represent the Warrens. And God, $84 million worth of Americans showed up to see their final chapter. And I based on our conversation on Weapons, I am kind of dumbfounded.
I'm totally dumbfounded because, and like, this doesn't belittle the achievement of Weapons or Final Destination or any of the other horror movies that have come out this year that have been very successful. But it's just like, I mean, I can't even, I'm completely dumbfounded by how much money this movie made.
Just based on objectively the reviews that Max and I have seen on Letterboxd, on Rotten Tomatoes, Weapons was an almost universally lauded film from both critics and audiences alike, whereas Conjuring is very mixed. And again, I think it's foolhardy to trust other people's opinions. Everyone should go see it themselves, including Max and I. But I will say, just looking on those data points on paper, I think to Max's original point, power of the character, power to, I hate to say the ugly word, IP, because people have lived with these characters for the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, I gripe about IP and franchises and stuff like that. This doesn't really bug me as IP or a franchise because it was again, it's not like a completely original idea, but it was more or less an original story when it first came out. And
Mm-hmm.
again, the power of the franchise, like if you do read the letterboxd reviews, people are like, it's not great, but oh my God, what a great send off for Ed and Lorraine Warren. Oh my
Yeah.
God, my favorite couple in movie history, Ed and Lorraine Warren. And I think there's a big lesson to be learned here where it's like the IP is the characters. They're not superheroes. There's not, big crazy action sequences. These aren't $100 million movies. These are just two people that people really care about, and it's like a love story in an exorcism universe, and I think that's really cool.
I agree, and I think this is a property that we are happy that people were excited to go see, and a lot of people showed up in the movie theaters, which is different from a couple of previous weeks in the dog days of August. Good on the Conjuring franchise.
Amen. No pun intended.
And just another side note outside of the box office. We saw an interesting trailer drop this week for a movie called Wuthering Heights, directed by Emerald Fennell. She came to fame with a movie called Promising Young Woman, and then she did the very popular Saltburn movie. Her next movie is an adaptation of the very famous novel starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. And the trailer dropped, and it is sexy as fuck.
Woo! It's like you could see the steam rising off your computer screen, bro.
Great song to it. Charlie XCX is doing music specifically for the title, and bringing this up just because the date of it is going to drop on Valentine's Day 2026. From our last pod, we talked a little bit about stunt dating of movies, and this feels like a prime Valentine's Day movie. So kudos to them on releasing this type of movie, setting this movie up. Max, do you think this is going to work?
Dude, okay, first off, you got Margot Robbie, who is good in everything, whether it's a serious drama or a comedy. And then you got Jacob Elordi, who is, I think, the most sought after sexy male star right now. Maybe Chalamet hasn't beat out, but like the movie looks incredible. The sets look incredible. The costumes look incredible. It's so sexy. There's so much touch, stuff that we just don't have in movies right now. And that is like very popular in the book world. So I feel like this is going to get like the book talk people out and just the regular movie crowd, because it's like Valentine's Day and we're all going to want to see something like this. I think it's going to crush. I think it's just going to come out and just like fucking dinosaur stomp the entire box office for like a week or two.
Max, one side question I wanted to ask you about, because we're talking about Wuthering Heights and Margot Robbie, she's also in a movie coming out next week called A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. I would say, from using gross marketing terms, this is also a romance type of genre film with another sexy, handsome star,
Yeah, man.
Colin
Great
Farrell.
actor. Great
actor.
How
How
like magical realism elements to it. So it's very much a film. It feels like it should be a film. It looks like even the poster, you're like, oh, the color scheme here is interesting and all this other stuff.
Where do you go seeing the trailer for Wuthering Heights and seeing everything that you've seen about this movie? What are your thoughts? Both with Margot Robbie opposite a handsome man in a romance type of genre.
I hate to say it because like I'm rooting hard for movies like Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, but there was something about the trailer where I was just kind of like, I don't know what the hook is here. I don't know the journey that I'm going on. I don't know what I'm rooting for, other than like Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell being in a movie together, which is great. But yeah, I'm just kind of left hanging, being like, this seems almost awards baity kind of sentimental melodrama instead of like this desperate, thirsty anguish romance that Wuthering Heights seems to be.
I think I agree with you, Max. And I am curious that maybe we'll talk about how that movie does in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I think it's just an interesting juxtaposition of Margot Robbie using her talent in a specific genre and seeing how it may play out in two very different ways, but we'll soon see.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like rooting for it, but I'm hooked on Wuthering Heights in a way that I'm not hooked on Big, Bold, Beautiful. And that it makes me a little sad to admit it, but it's true.
Agreed. And then just to wrap up, it has been a couple of quiet weeks at the box office while a bunch of these film festivals were going on. At the end of August, the Venice Film Festival was happening, as well as the Telluride Film Festival. Then just last week, the Toronto Film Festival was happening. It's actually still probably going on in early September. And all these are platforms for movies to get shown, critics to start to see these movies, and people start to talk about them. You'll start to see interviews of the stars and the directors on your social media feed. And that's one of the reasons that Max and I are so excited to talk about what's to come. We're going to be talking about the most anticipated movies of the fall. You want to get into it?
Yeah, Dave. So here's what we did, folks. Dave and I went through the entire release calendar between now and late November. That's like around Thanksgiving weekend. And we each selected a few movies that we're extremely excited about. And we have consolidated them into our top 10 most anticipated films of the fall.
Top 10. Woo!
I'm going to start us off with number 10. Number 10, I have as Good Fortune. This is a movie releasing on October 17th. It stars Keanu Reeves, Seth Rogen, and Aziz Ansari, who directed the movie as well. This is like a very interesting collection of talent. The concept is Keanu Reeves plays an angel, a guardian angel. He comes down on Earth. Aziz Ansari is really down on his luck with essentially a Hollywood assistant job, just trying to move up the ladder, but he can't. He doesn't get paid enough. There's nowhere for him to go. And he asks a guardian angel for some help. And Keanu Reeves comes down, and his whole idea is I'll switch places between him and his boss. His boss is played by Seth Rogen, who's like, he might be like a rich tech guy. He might not be a Hollywood guy, but it feels very Hollywood assistant-y.
Yeah.
But I'm going to switch places between these two guys, and Aziz will be the rich guy, and he'll learn that like money isn't everything. And then pretty quickly, Aziz is just loving life, and that money has solved all of his issues, and he's pretty happy about it. And Seth Rogen is pretty upset. And I think this is just a brilliant concept for a movie. So many of us out there are dealing with the fact that we can't move up in our industry, that we can't afford basic things like a house or even a car or medical care or anything. This is something that's pretty universal for all people in the country. And it's a really fun way to look at a serious topic. So I'm really excited about it. We're going to do a degree of risk on all these films, saying exactly how risky we think it is that this movie will end up being good or bad. I think this is pretty low risk. These dudes have proven it multiple times. The preview is very funny. Keanu Reeves as a guardian angel is like a marketing, just a huge marketing hook on its own. I'm pretty jazzed about it. Dave, feelings?
Yeah, Max, I agree. I think a dude's Freaky Friday is a great concept. And especially that there's a twist on it that the body swap ends up actually being pretty successful for one of them is a really fun idea. And then the addition to someone like Keanu in the middle of it. The cast is great. I agree with the degree of risk. I think there's a pretty low chance that this movie won't be really, really fun.
You calling it a dude's Freakier Friday is I didn't even think of it that way, and it's very well said.
All right, number 9, I picked After the Hunt, which is a movie being released by MGM. It was at some of the film festivals that just came out. It stars Andrew Garfield, Io Debris, who's from The Bear, and Julia Roberts, who's really at the center of it, who is just a mainstay old school celebrity. The premise is Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield are both professors. Io Debris is a student, and there is a he said, she said potential sexual misconduct that happens between the Andrew Garfield character and the Io Debris character. And Julia Roberts is kind of caught in the middle. And I mean, this movie looks like it's taking on conflicts in race, conflicts in gender, and conflicts in age. It's definitely playing on the millennial versus the Gen Z age gap and how those people just are speaking different languages to each other.
Well, also not even millennial and Gen Z. It's like Gen Z, millennial, and I don't know, Gen X or
and boomer, maybe. Yeah,
the generation gap stuff is very interesting to explore on top of all that.
So it's directed by this guy named Luca Guadagnino. Luca has had some real high highs. He came out with this movie Challengers, which was a pretty decent commercial hit. He also did Call Me By Your Name, which is the movie that people mostly discovered Timothée Chalamet from. So he's had some awesome highs, and he's had some real duds as well, man. And movies like this are really hard to make work. This, unlike the movie Max just talked about, in which like it takes on some social issues, but in comedy, this is like straight up a drama, maybe some elements of thriller, but really it's a lot of people in rooms talking seriously.
Yeah.
About some really thorny topics in our society right now. There's a high chance that it's polemic, it's heavy-handed, that it's going to be preachy, and yet still I am so freaking pumped. It's like, but if we're doing our degree of risk, Max, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 risk, which there's a good chance it's not going to be as good as I want it to be. But I just love that they're swinging on a crazy topic that is probably going to divide some people, but I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and it's, like these are things that we're dealing with in our society, and we need to make art to explore those things. So it needs to be done. I feel like it's being done by very competent people. Can't guarantee that. These things are just difficult, but I appreciate people stepping up to the challenge. I appreciate Julia Roberts stepping out of form and into what could be a villain role,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. And Andrew Garfield, the same, stepping into a real potentially villainous role and a real thankless role. And I like Luca's movies, so I trust him that at least the effort here is going to be very sincere. I want to go see this movie, and I will have to probably have a conversation with myself to make sure that I do, because it's heavy-handed shit.
Yeah, it's gonna push some buttons, but I'm excited to talk about it. All right, what's next, Max?
Okay, number 8, I have Hamnet.
Did you say Hamlet?
Hamnet.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I would call this an unfortunately titled movie for what has just an absolutely fantastic trailer.
Yeah.
This is Chloe Zhao's movie that she's doing after The Eternals, which was her follow-up to her Oscar-winning Nomadland, which I really, really loved. Chloe's made a couple small movies like Nomadland that are kind of soft-spoken explorations of big challenges in small lives. And now she's taking on Shakespeare. Paul Mescal is playing Shakespeare. That's what the trailer led me to think.
Billy Boy Shakespeare.
Yes, and Jessie Buckley is playing a love interest, and this is a movie about a romance around the time when he wrote Hamlet, and maybe why he wrote Hamlet. I don't know why it's called Hamnet. Wow, there's going to be a lot of that happening. But yeah, I'm calling this Shakespeare in Love 2025. It feels very much kind of a similar concept, updated for our time. I think Chloe Zhao is a fantastic person to handle that, because it's going to like deeply dive into the point of view and the psyche of these two people. The trailer just looks really cool and personal, and it seems like an exploration of how important art and storytelling is to expressing human emotion, expressing romance, how it enhances our lives. I don't really know, because this is a great trailer and it doesn't tell me exactly what's happening, but the two stars have what seems to be some pretty dang good chemistry, and I'm on board. There's a lot of romances coming out in the fall, and this is the one that I really want to get behind.
I'll be the detractor, Max. This was not on my list. I think I am somewhat interested in this title, but I will be frank, Chloe Zhao, she's typically not my cup of tea, man. She has a very specific type of filmmaking. It's very kind of naturalistic and kind of flowy. And
it could be a little quiet too.
Exactly. So, and some could argue slow moving. And I like to think that sometimes I'm down for those types of movies, but I typically haven't connected with her. I will say, cheating a little bit, this was the title out of the Telluride Film Festival that people were most excited about. Jessie Buckley, I think most people might not know her as a household name, but you've definitely seen her face, and apparently the reviews of her performance is absolutely off the charts.
Yeah.
And I have heard that this movie is, at least for Chloe Zhao's style of filmmaking, more propulsive. So it is a romance, but I think I have heard from people that it is like quite compelling. People were on the edge of their seat. And I would not have thought of that from a title that I thought was misspelled Hamlet movie.
Yeah, so I still think that's a weird choice. But to your point, Steven Spielberg and Sam Mendes are producers on this movie. And I think, Spielberg's particular approach to filmmaking may have helped make Chloe's a little bit more propulsive. He also, I think, did a very similar thing for Sam Mendes back when he did American Beauty. And here it is, Mendes is hopping on board to help Chloe Zhao as well. And I think that speaks volumes for not only the support she had in making this movie, but how compelling the script must have been by the time it landed on these dudes' desks. So I'm going to put the degree of difficulty actually pretty low. I think this movie is going to be really good. Will it be financially successful? Yeah. How successful? I don't know.
And I will mention, Max, I have read that Hamnet is based on a best-selling novel and was very compelling. Okay, maybe it's possible that both Chloe, Steven Spielberg, and Sam Mendes all kind of read it and were so blown away by it. But to your earlier point, maybe this is something that the book talk audience will just get behind to help.
I didn't know it's based on IP. That's going to help in a big way. All right, Dave, what do we got next?
Number 7, a movie called Sentimental Value. This movie stars Stellan Skarsgård. This woman named, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna mispronounce it, Renee Renzies. She's an European actress. She's phenomenal. Elle Fanning, Corey Michael Smith. Some names, but probably more faces that people know. This was directed by Joachim Trier, whose last film was a movie called The Worst Person in the World. It came out a couple years ago. If you have not seen it, I would say stop everything and go watch it right now.
Dude, it's so good.
It's great. And this movie premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, which was earlier this summer, and it won the second top award. I think it's called the Schmiegel Bijel Bujaboo Cannon. No. You're gonna have to cut that out, or maybe leave it in.
Not cutting that out.
It won the Cannes Grand Prix Prize, which is the second top award. This is a movie about two sisters reuniting with their estranged father, who's played by Stellan Skarsgård. He is a renowned director, and the two sisters are reconnecting with the father in this complicated relationship. Watch the trailer. I almost cried at the trailer. I want to say that there's a 98% chance I will cry in this film. I think this is going to be a slam dunk. I think it's going to pull at the heartstrings. This is the movie on our list where you go see it with your family. It comes out on November 7th. This is a little bit of a softy choice on our list, but I couldn't be more excited about going to see it. Max, are you pumped for this?
I mean, my viewing experience of The Worst Person in the World was really unique. I went on it on a date. And it was a very, it's a movie about someone going through really challenging times and her being very imperfect, but it was really uplifting. And it was so cool to see that on a date with someone, because then when you come out of the movie, you have so much to talk about. You have your entire life to talk about. And usually when somebody says something like that to me, I kind of roll my eyes, but go see this with anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to enriching your relationships with your friends, your family, your date, whatever it is. It's one of those movie going experiences where you don't expect it to be much because there's no spectacle to it, but you're gonna walk out and be like, man, only a movie could have made me feel that way, and I'm so happy that I went. So I'm glad you put this on your list, Dave, because it didn't quite make mine. But now, as I'm speaking, I'm like, how did I not put this on my list? It's like a sure bet.
Agreed. I think one of the genres that Max and I talk a lot about is the lack of movies that are dramas or romantic comedies. And I think nowadays it's very hard to be an honest filmmaker in that space. And I think this is a director and a star that are trying to do it and did it really well with the last movie. And I think they're pulling it off with Sentimental
We
Value.
could put our trust in them, and we all should.
Okay, Max, we're on to 6. What's number 6?
Okay, 6, I have, this is the one where I'm most skeptical of my own choices, because there were other movies I wanted to put in my top 10, but I think it is really important to our cultural zeitgeist, and that movie is called Him. It's coming out on September 19th, and honestly, a big reason why I put it on the list was I thought it was another horror movie directed by Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
It's not directed by him, but it is produced by him.
That's marketing, baby.
That's it, man. They tricked me, and they tricked me good. But it's a horror movie that takes place in the world of professional American football player. This is about pro athletes and the sacrifices they put themselves through in order to not only entertain us, but to truly achieve that status as an elite in their profession. And you could sub this for athlete, you could sub it for artist, you could sub it for a business leader, whatever it is. I think that's the universal thing that they're digging into here. It's about a college athlete who gets drafted in the NFL, and his mentor, his coach, his essentially the person who's the leader in his life, starting this new saga, might be an insane psychopath. And that person is played by Marlon Wayans, which is another very strange choice that this movie is making. Weird to put us in this world, weird to do a horror movie, weird to release it at the beginning of football season, weird to cast Marlon Wayans, but it all looks extremely compelling. It's this intersection of the challenges of fame, the choices that athletes have to make to commit doing violence to other people and having violence done against them, the abuse from coaches and leaders and how that affects your mind, and just the general sacrifices that successful people make. It kind of reminds me of Black Swan. The preview is compelling. it has a couple of things on it that make it seem like, oh, I know exactly what this movie's about. And then it introduces a couple of these horror elements, and I'm like, but I have no idea what's going to happen. It seems like a cautionary tale against hustle culture, but I can't say that for sure, but I want to find out. That said, I would put the degree of risk on this movie at a 10 out of 10. I really have no idea if it's going to work. The director hasn't done anything like it before. We do have not only Jordan Peele producing, but Ari Aster. And I
Oh,
love
wow.
Ari Aster, but not, as we talked about Eddington, like not all of his movies have worked for the general public. But honestly, I think those are kind of the reasons why we should go see it. It's an original film taking big risks, and it's about stuff going on in our culture. Like I got to get behind it.
I love what you said, Max. Yeah, and it is an original story from a major studio with a major marketing release, and you don't really know where it's going to go. And I am intrigued by it, and I would totally agree that the degree of difficulty is a 10 out of 10. There's not really a blueprint for this type of movie, and that is even reflected in the marketing. But I think even you just describing it, Max, is really a compelling way to describe it. This is about anyone trying to achieve something great in whatever field. And the line that I have heard in the marketing so far that they return to is Marlon Wayans, who looks like he's the quote unquote villain, take that with a grain of salt, is what are you willing to sacrifice? That is something that is pretty universal in anyone that's trying to aspire to do anything great. The visuals, I think, are really arresting. If you are a horror person, you could be really pulled into it. If you are not a horror person, you could really be pushed out of it. So I am also interested to see how this ends up.
Yeah, well said, Dave. Well said. All right, what do you got next?
Another interesting original story from a major studio. This, I don't know how isn't our number one. This is our number 5, Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. This stars Leonardo DiCaprio. You might have heard of him. Benicio del Toro, as well as Sean Penn, Teyana Taylor. If you know PTA, he has always a slew of character actors throughout his films. So the cast, I know, will be off the charts, even if Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't do it for you. The log line of it is is unusual. When their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue one of their own's daughter. Paul Thomas Anderson, if you didn't know, was the same guy that did the movie There Will Be Blood. He did the movie Boogie Nights. He did the movie Magnolia. He did the movie Punch Drunk Love. If you're in at least Max and I's age brackets, these are all pretty totemic films over the last 20, 25 years. But he's not always a very commercial director. So on this round, the Warner Brothers Studios gave Paul Thomas Anderson the biggest budget he's ever gotten, and they got the biggest star in the world. But I will say the materials that I have seen don't make it look like it's the most commercial movie ever.
Yeah, but not the least commercial movie either. At the core of this story, this is about a man trying to rescue his daughter, or a man and his wife trying to rescue his daughter. We're not totally sure, and I think that's fantastic. It's a little funny. It's a weird American-only adventure, right? These are about American ideologies, but I'm not exactly sure how they're revolutionaries. And, it's a weird time to be making a movie about revolutionaries that are hunted by the government, because we live in very polarizing times. And it's like, are you making fun of me? Or are you making fun of the other people? If you're making fun of the other people, I'm also supposed to root for them. So I feel like it occupies this really, really weird space. Given the current political climate, I'm not really into making the things that I care about a joke right now. Mm-hmm. It feels like the timing on this is kind of weird or unfortunate, depending on who you ask. But I don't know, because if the trailer maybe leaned into a little bit more, this is a man trying to rescue his family from an oppressive government, across the board, whether you're conservative or liberal or progressive or libertarian or whatever you want to say, I feel like people could get behind that subject. But they're not leaning into that as hard as I think they should.
I agree, Max. I think PTA always makes some divisive choices in his movies, and that is why many of us really view him as one of the great artists and American filmmakers out there living today. And I think this will be great to talk about in future episodes. In the tension that you and I love to talk about, which is like how the movie's marketed versus what the movie actually is. Clearly, Warner Brothers, the studio, needs a lot of people to show up to it for it to be successful for them. In the trailer, there is definitely a Beyonce song. The father trying to get to his daughter is the most universal theme that I think that they are pushing, which makes a lot of sense. But in the movie itself, typically there's usually a cast of characters with very different motivations and idiosyncrasies that make the movie funny. So I think we'll have to see. I'm excited to see it as a cinephile fan, but as a marketer, I am putting a degree of risk on it kind of high. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because it has Leo in it. I don't know if this necessarily makes it a slam dunk, but I'll be there opening weekend.
Teyana Taylor being in it really helps. The chances of it being good are very high. Will this movie be successful? It's really hard to say because like it's very American. It seems to be very American, but I don't really know what it's asking of America as a you should come see this. So it'll be interesting to see how this performs for sure.
All right. Very different movie. What's your number 4, Max?
Oh my God. I'm so fucking jazzed about this movie. This is a movie called Good Boy. It comes out October 3rd. It's a horror film that's kicking off spooky season with a huge hooky concept, which is that it's told entirely from the perspective of the dog. The dog is the main character. We're following that dog in every scene as it goes on a horrific journey of some sort. I don't exactly know, but if you watch the trailer, which I highly recommend, the dog has an owner. It lives a pretty good life. And then something bad happens at night in the house. And it's not like the dog gets kicked or anything. It's just this creepy, weird thing. It's not just scary things. It's like weird things. It's unsettling things. The trailer does an incredible job, much like the Weapons trailer, of just posing the question, what is this? What is happening? And is this dog going to be okay? And I really want it to be okay.
I agree with you, Max. This wasn't on my top 5 list, but it was on my radar. And I did a little bit of sleuthing on it. And I believe the log line is a dog and its owners move to a rural house in the woods. Pretty typical horror movie beginning. But apparently, I believe only the dog can sense supernatural elements around it. So, and with that, you are always seeing the movie through the dog's perspective, and we'll see how it ends up. But I do know that many people online have been going to the website doesthedogdie.com.
Oh, that's a brilliant website. Oh my God.
Which is a great website. Unfortunately, it is obviously filled with spoilers because everyone wants to know that. We'll not spoil it on this pod, but I think it's a super...
so that's not from the movie itself?
No, it is not the movie itself. It is a spoiler-filled website to shield potential audience goers to understanding what they're getting themselves into. I personally would encourage you not to check that out.
Yeah, don't do that.
I love a horror movie from a unique perspective, and this fits right there.
Yeah, this is just a really brilliant storytelling device. Also, pretty American. Yeah. We love our dogs in this country. They're really tapping into a fear that we have that something terrible might happen to that dog. The degree of difficulty, it's a 10. Like, animals are impossible to direct. How do you direct a movie with a dog in every scene? It's not a talking dog. It's not anthropomorphic. It's just a dog. And it's a horror movie, so you have to make it scary. And it has to stand out in the oversaturated but extremely creative golden age of horror movies that we're in right now. And there are no stars. There's no like big actor in this movie. So I think this movie is going to be really good, and I appreciate that it took a 10 out of 10 challenge. We got to go support this one for sure.
I'm with you, Max. Okay, number 3, I'll say we're down to our top 3 most anticipated movies of the fall. These final 3 were on both Max's and mine lists. From one unusual protagonist in Good Boy to the next unusual protagonist. We both picked Predator: Badlands.
Hell yes.
So I definitely want to save some space for Max to comment on it. But from my perspective, this is the 87th edition of the Predator franchise. There have been so many iterations to the Predator films from its original movie in the 1980s. I have to be honest, I am not a diehard Predator fan. I've definitely missed some of the chapters in their movie lineage. But this approach to me is especially exciting. Just like Good Boy and the unique protagonist being a dog which does not speak, it looks like from the trailer, this movie is about a young predator who is outcast from his normal like predator clan, and he finds himself on an unlikely planet with an unusual ally.
Okay, Dave, I'm going to tell you right now why you're not a Predator diehard fan, and that's because most of the Predator content is really terrible.
Yeah.
Like an amazing, the first Predator movie so amazing, the second one's pretty rad, and then it was just a bunch of trash for a really really long time, including like a couple of attempts that seemed like they could have been pretty good, but then just kind of fell apart until this movie called Prey that came out straight to Hulu, sadly, a couple of years ago, which was incredible. And now what makes me most excited about this movie is not the concept, is not the fact that it's a major studio release, but it's by the dude who did Prey, the guy who really reinvigorated the Predator mythology and really understands it. The mythology of the Predators is that in order to come of age as a Predator, you are sent to a far off planet to go kill some of the strongest, most powerful animals on that planet. So I don't know if this dude's outcast from his clan or if he's on his coming of age journey, although we do see him fighting other predators in the trailer. So something's going on. There's also a link to the alien universe because that unlikely companion is a synthetic from the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, which we first met in the first Alien movie in 1979, and they've played a really important part in that franchise, which is equally disastrous as the Predator franchise. There's two really good Alien movies, and then it's kind of a mess from there. I am enjoying this new Alien TV show, which is all about the synthetics and the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. So it seems like Fox Disney is doing a huge push in the Predator and Alien franchise universe with this Alien show and with Prey and the Predator animated movie that came out. And this movie, I do like that they are expanding the universe in interesting ways, even if they are kind of missing the mark. So I'm very jazzed on it for the bold steps that they are taking forward.
I agree, and that's why it's on my list as well, is because of this director who did the Prey movie. His name is Dan Trachtenberg. Like Max said, did the movie Prey, which was almost a silent film, and it feels like this movie, Predator Badlands, will also probably be pretty minimal dialogue, huge visual storytelling. It requires a lot of skill from the director, and I can't wait to see the visuals that he brings to the table.
Yeah, that comes out on November 7th. We're both super jazzed about it. What would you put the degree of risk of this at, Dave?
I think the degree of risk is on the higher side, again, because you're relying on a character that probably doesn't speak at all. So I'm putting this up as a 7. Not quite as high as some of the others, but I think it could be challenging to pull it off.
With the success of the last Alien movie, I think it's going to be financially successful. Will the movie itself be good? That's a whole other thing. But the guy made Prey. He made Prey, so I have a lot of faith.
All right, Max, our top 2. What's number 2?
Number 2 is Bugonia. This comes out October 24th. It is another film collaboration between Yorgos Lanthimos, who did The Favorite and Poor Things, both movies that were very awards heavy and both movies that I really liked. But it's another collaboration between him and Emma Stone. It co-stars Jesse Plemons, who's also been in a couple of his movies. These are two actors that I'm crazy about. I think they make really interesting choices. They commit really, really hard to the roles. And they're in a lot of original films, which Yorgos does exclusively. So I'm always going to stand really hard for the originals out there. There's no IP. It's not a franchise, just hardcore movie making. It's a bit of wish fulfillment here. It's essentially about two dudes who are down on their luck, who kidnap a very, very rich lady who seems like kind of a piece of shit. A lot of Americans are feeling that right now. Also, Ari Aster co-produced this movie. So now he's producing 2 movies on my list somehow. For some reason, Alicia Silverstone is in this movie, which is great. We've missed her since the 90s. So yeah, I'm really, really, really interested in this movie. Not only because it has that wish fulfillment, but in the middle of the trailer, it takes a really weird turn.
Being on the wavelength of a Yorgos Lanthimos movie is pretty specific. He has typically not been for everyone. He is coming off one of his most commercial successes with Emma Stone, called Poor Things, which did so well, and Emma Stone won an Oscar for it, won her second Oscar for it. This also has some social undertones, and I think a lot of the movies on our fall list do, some more overtly than others. But I think Emma Stone and Yorgos and Jesse together, they could read the phone book, and I would say I'll buy tickets for it.
Yeah, kind of with you on that.
And the reviews out of the film festivals that just happened are really high on this. They also say that it's funny. And Max, you and I always talk about movies that we hope, even when they take on serious themes, that they're able to find some humor in it. So I'm excited to see that balance.
Great. And degree of difficulty, what do you think, Dave? Like, I feel like it's kind of in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. I think this movie wasn't made for the same budget that the Paul Thomas Anderson movie is. So I think it's more likely to do well. I would say 7 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10, that it'll be okay commercially and be critically successful.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it has a wildly unmarketable title, but we have very competent actors and directors. I don't know. I put it at about a 7 because I just have no idea where we're going to end up with it. But the fact that Poor Things made so much money is kind of like, well, I guess there's plenty of us out there who want this weird stuff. So, yeah, I'll see it. I'll check it out. All right, Dave, take us to the number 1 most anticipated film.
Our number 1 is a movie called House of Dynamite. This movie is directed by Kathryn Bigelow. Kathryn Bigelow is one of our great filmmakers. She hasn't been as prolific as I think some of us would have wished. I think her last movie was maybe now 7 years ago. She did a movie called The Hurt Locker, which won Best Picture. She also did a movie called Zero Dark 30. Both of those were very military American pseudo-political thrillers. And this movie, House of Dynamite, is going to fall into that vein as well. I also just give a shout out of some of her earlier movies. Kathryn Bigelow also did Point Break, which came out in the early 90s and starred Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. And that's such an easy one to go watch.
Yeah, I mean, like, what an amazing span of creativity between The Hurt Locker and Point Break. A huge range, which feels crazy to say because when you watch a movie, you're like, it feels so specific.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's a great talent, and I'm very excited for this, for just that reason alone, but also because of the content.
Absolutely. So this movie, it comes out October 10th. The movie stars Rebecca Ferguson, who is in the Mission Impossible movies, Idris Elba, who's in The Wire and everything else, Anthony Ramos, who is in Hamilton, Caitlin Dever, Greta Lee, Tracy Letts. All not huge stars, but just great actors all around that can really bring their A game to a thriller like this. The movie centers around White House staffers as they deal with the potential nuclear missile strike. The story apparently unfolds in real time, so you're watching these people deal with what they think is about to be a nuclear strike. Is it happening? Isn't it happening? How do they all react to it? And things get more and more intense as the movie goes on. The movie is really about, and yes, we're talking themes, even though Max and I haven't seen it, but the scare of nuclear proliferation. We all live in a world that we know in the back of our minds, we could all be wiped out in an instant from nuclear war. We know that our country and a bunch of countries around the world have these nuclear weapons, and they're all pointed at each other, and we're all just playing a game of standoff. And we all choose to live our lives without really thinking of that in the forefront. This movie is kind of, I've heard, shaped as a disaster movie, but that feels scarily close to a reality.
And I wouldn't even say that the scare is about the proliferation of nuclear weapons as much as it about who's behind the button, right? Like that was the thing during the Cold War, is like who's gonna press the button. And right now we're at a time where international tensions are escalating. And I hope that this movie does really, really well, because it's going to reemphasize that we can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Like we can't live in a world where we feel like we're surrounded by enemies, where we don't have allies, where we don't show up for our allies, where we don't have our allies back, because like you said, Dave, like press of a button and the entire world could be absolutely annihilated as we know it. Like all life on Earth could be annihilated. It's crazy. The fact that a couple of things could go wrong, and for really stupid reasons, we could just be gone. So yeah, I hope people watch this movie. I hope it's awesome. I would put the degree of difficulty, or the degree of risk, like, dude, I don't know. I actually don't know, right? Where do you put it?
You know what? I loved your points, Max. I will say my understanding of it, though it is a comment on the political theater in the world that we live in right now, my understanding of it is that I am grateful that it actually doesn't take on like the divisions of the political parties in America. I don't think it talks
No, we
about.
don't want that's not what we want.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, and again, it's all up to the filmmaker. If they wanted to make a more political statement, they could have. My understanding, though, of it, and I'm grateful for it as a fan, is that like it doesn't talk about whether you are pro Trump or not Trump, or pro Macron or anti Macron. It doesn't talk about any of that. It is just about the reality of just living with these countries that, to your point, Max, like the tensions are so high. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, the tensions are just really high with all the countries around the world. So. And I have heard that it is structured just like a quote unquote old school 90s thriller where it's going to move fast and keep you on the edge of your seat. And in Catherine Bigelow, I trust. I think also important to know, Max, that like it doesn't get uber political the way some of our other movies on this list might.
No, because it doesn't need to. It just needs to make us scared so that the American public is like, oh yeah, this is a big deal. And we need to make sure our political leaders are reminded of that for the way that they behave. It doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter what side they're on. They need to be reminded that this is scary. We care about this, and we need to respect the weapon, essentially.
Love that. And I'm sure that Catherine, as she was directing this movie, she had that thought in mind, but also she's such a smart filmmaker that she knows just a regular audience goer is just going to have a great rock star time at the theaters. So that's why for me, it's my number one. It's our number one on our list. Dude, I'm so excited for the fall. This is frankly my favorite time of year. Just looking ahead, reading this list, I am like so stoked. Just
dude,
I'm really gonna live at the movies.
Dude, yeah, it's like it's an embarrassment of riches. And even our 10 most anticipated films, I feel like we cut a lot of things that I really want to see. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go into a lightning round of honorable mentions. These are movies that we will definitely talk about in episodes to come, but we wanted to highlight them for you, put them on your radar, put them on your bingo card so you do not miss them. I'm going to start us off with Black Phone 2. Honestly, this could have made my actual list, but I can't make it an anticipated film because I've already seen it. I actually know the filmmakers. I was lucky enough to go to an early screening, and it's awesome, especially if you're a fan of the first one. This is a deeper exploration of the mythology, of the character relationships and the family dynamics and the emotion of the entire story there. I highly recommend it. Check it out.
Cool. I'll go with my one honorable mention for me is Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro directing, Oscar Isaac as the scientist with Jacob Elordi as the monster. Come on, man, get me in seats. Get me.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac looks awesome as Victor Frankenstein. I'm very excited for that. Also, Kiss of the Spider Woman on here. This is the musical based on the original play of two political prisoners who imagine a world outside of their cell. It's an incredible play, which I've seen. We got Diego Luna, we got Jennifer Lopez in the musical sequences. I think it's going to be awesome.
Great pick. Wicked for Good. I'm going with the most obvious one this fall, coming out in Thanksgiving. I really didn't want to like the first ones. I know some of my nerdy cinephile friends will make fun of me for this. I cried at the first Wicked. I thought Ariana Grande was hilarious. Cynthia Erivo's got an amazing voice. Sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely cried too, but I knew I was going to because I cried during the play, and it's awesome. This didn't make our most anticipated films because we feel like it's the most obvious pick and is probably going to be the biggest one. I'm going to go with something a little less obvious for the next honorable mention. Roofman. This is a movie starring Channing Tatum as an escaped convict who ends up hiding out and living in a Toys R Us. The Toys R Us, he finds a love interest in Kirsten Dunst. The boss of it is Peter Dinklage, who looks very funny. The movie looks fun. It looks interesting. I'm excited for it.
Next up on honorable mention is a movie called Jay Kelly. This is directed by a guy named Noah Baumbach. Noah Baumbach did Marriage Story, which was a big favorite of mine a couple of years ago. This movie is about an aging celebrity Hollywood actor navigating his life as he gets older, and it's played by none other than George Clooney, who is an aging Hollywood actor looking back on his life. So there's a whole meta level there. Adam Sandler's also in it. So I think it's got a great cast. It's catnip for a movie and Hollywood fan like myself.
Yeah, and like it seems like it's too on the nose, but honestly, it seems very charming and very fun. You got Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, George Clooney. It's going to be great. My next honorable mention would be Spinal Tap 2, which I would have loved to put on my most anticipated list, but there are so many other good movies coming out, it just couldn't quite squeeze it in. But this is, whatever, 40 years after the iconic original mockumentary. Rob Reiner returned to direct it. Looks very, very funny, and also just the kind of nostalgia that I appreciate, which is nostalgia that is not capitalizing on nostalgia, but is actually putting a little cherry on top of something that we loved from way back when.
Next up, a smaller movie called If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Kind of a hilarious title, and sometimes how I feel about Max. But the star of it is Rose Byrne. This is Rose Byrne playing a mom of a troubled kid. I think someone who has a child who has a disability, and the mother is navigating I think, taking care of that kid without her husband and the father of the kid. And it's a dramatic performance coming out of the film festivals. Rose is getting amazing reviews. I'm also watching her in the very light show called Platonic, which is on Apple TV Plus. Rose, yeah, so good. Rose Byrne is a national treasure. She can do no wrong. She can be funny. She can be dramatic. Anyway, I love Rose Byrne. I'll go see this movie, even if it's a little darker, because she's fantastic. Max, what you got?
Very super stoked on that one. Next honorable mention is Fairyland, and this is a small family drama. It's a period piece that takes place in the 70s about a man who loses his wife, and he's a single father. He moves to San Francisco. He comes out of the closet. He's dating men. The young child is growing up in this kind of queer world in San Francisco. The grandmother is played by Gina Davis, and she's, really not super stoked about that environment. So it's an interesting exploration of what it actually means to grow up in a non-traditional family. And it looks really fucking good and sweet. Like, not overwrought. It looks very sweet. And I'm excited for that one.
I hadn't heard of it. I'll check it out. All right, Max, what's the last one on our list?
The last one is this thriller called Anniversary. It stars Diane Lane and Kyle Chandler, and it's about a son in the family comes home. He brings his new girlfriend, and she's kind of an unsettling presence. And then Diane Lane remembers that she was a student of hers way back when, and that she was kind of disturbing. And you're not sure if this person's a psycho or if the mom's being too controlling, but you got a killer cast. It looks like a really tight thriller. I think that movie is going to be really awesome. It might be like the big surprise of the fall. I'll say it. It might be the big surprise.
Ooh, all right. I got to keep my eye out on it.
All right. Now let's talk about movies that are coming out this fall that we're a little skeptical on. Dave, what's ranking for you, kind of skeptical wise?
Yeah, I appreciate this section, Max. In general, we obviously want to be promoting people to go see movies in theaters, and we understand the valiant effort it takes to just make any movie. So take it with a grain of salt that we're obviously we don't want to take digs at artists who are trying to do what they do, put movies in theaters. But I guess I would call this our skeptical list or our sus list of I don't know, really, guys? Yeah. I'll start it out with Now You See Me 3, which is brilliantly marketed as Now You See Me, Now You Don't. So just a magic trick movie about magicians who essentially do heists. Max and I often do say that on the show, movies are in a way a magic trick, and that is part of the magic. This is literalizing that, and I am kind of annoyed by it. It's got a bunch of actors that we all admire, and I just wish they were doing something else. Go see it to support your movie theater, but I would say please see one of our top 10 movies before you see this.
Yeah, it feels like a cash grab. I think that's kind of the easiest way to describe how this movie makes me feel. The first movie that came out was a surprise hit, and it spawned a surprise sequel. And, it does have a great cast, but it seems very stunted, very cash grabby. That's not to say that it won't be good. I mean, people really like those other two movies. So
you just hear Max and I just see this and we just sigh.
Yeah, there's a sigh. We think there's other interesting things to go see. I would put Running Man on the skeptical list. This is a reboot of the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, based on a Stephen King story where a man joins a game show where the contestants are in a battle to the death. You watch them, meet these kind of crazy characters, and they try and get killed on live television. And it's a real comment on how the taste of art can really decline a culture. And I think it's a really wonderful idea to explore, considering the time that we're in right now, where a lot of people say we're in cultural decline. But the trailer was kind of, I don't know.
I'm totally with you, Max. Everything on paper about this movie I should be excited about. Edgar Wright is an innovative auteur filmmaker who makes bold choices. Love him. I'm on the Glenn Powell train of just like, I'm excited for him to just do the movie star thing, and I am charmed by him. Coleman Domingo is in it, and he's just thrown 1,000 miles an hour, so he's fantastic.
Coleman Domingo as the host might be the most compelling thing about this movie, which
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. But there's something about the trailer that I just personally didn't like the look of it.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong, but I'm a little sus on it.
Yeah, it almost feels like they were trying to do the, hey, now things aren't on TV, they're on our phone thing a little bit too hard. I'm going to go see it for sure, but I'm sus on this one 100%.
Next up, Deliver Me From Nowhere. This is going to be the Bruce Springsteen biopic, which stars Jeremy Allen Wright, the star of the TV show The Bear, and has been making a big splash over the last couple of years. It also stars Jeremy Strong as the Bruce Springsteen's manager. Jeremy Strong from Succession. I love to see their performance, and I've heard that Jeremy Allen White and Jeremy Strong are both great in it.
They look great in it, for sure.
They are really swinging, yeah. I will just say the director of this movie is a guy named Scott Cooper, and he has really missed on a lot of movies that he's previously done for me. It's just not been my wavelength, not my cup of tea. And I do think biopics, especially musical biopics, are really challenging. We just are coming off of I thought, a successful one in A Complete Unknown, where Timothée Chalamet played Bob Dylan. I hope this has the special sauce that had, but I am also sus.
A good biopic needs to be about like a specific thing. And the bad biopic is kind of about everything. And this seems to be specifically about him recording one album. And I don't know why I find that interesting. I just don't know what this movie really is going to be. And that doesn't mean it's going to be good or bad. It just means I'm skeptical on it.
Yeah, maybe if they get the Springsteen heads on it, I think it'll work, but I don't know if it'll be good. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, what's our next one, Dave?
Okay, the next one is this movie called The Smashing Machine, which is coming out this fall. It stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You might remember him from movies like Jungle Cruise and Jumanji. He is making a dramatic turn. He plays I'm totally flubbing the log line here. He plays
Mark Kerr, right? Is that the guy's name?
I believe so. He plays an early participant in the Ultimate Fighting movement, which has now become just a mainstay in sports and sports marketing, and is very, very profitable. Emily Blunt is also in it as Mark Kerr's wife, and it's directed by one of the Safdie brothers, the guys that brought you movies like Uncut Gems and Good Time. So like, I like the ingredients of it, except I am stuck on The Rock being dramatic. So I will love to be proven wrong, but I don't know if he's got the goods. I guess we'll see.
I think if he's going to take a dramatic turn, this is the one to take. So I'm actually not as stuck on that as I am just on what the trailer seems to tell me what the story is, which is a man who has a singular focus on a sport that is ruining his body, and his wife who is trying to support him, but also being like, I'm losing you. Do you care more about me, or do you care about this sport? Which is something that we see all the time in real life, but also something that we've seen at the movies many, many times. And fucking Emily Blunt rules. Safdie rules. I really enjoy The Rock for the most part, and he was an important part of my childhood. But I just don't know if this movie is going to be anything beyond those kind of paint by the numbers cliches. So skeptical.
Agreed.
But this movie's going to make $1 gazillion. That's my prediction. Yes.
All right, Max, what's next?
Okay, we have a movie called An Enemy, and the only thing I know about it is it's a heavy-duty family drama, and it's Daniel Day-Lewis's big return to the screen. Like, I guess, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be anything popping about this movie. I'm not sure why this is what he returned for, and I haven't really heard anything on it, so I'm kind of skeptical.
Agreed. I heard that his son, his progeny, directed it, which is I think why he came out of retirement. But I agree, this is lacking the marketing arm to understand why more people aren't paying a bunch of attention to it. But maybe that's also a product of me being a marketing guy, and maybe who cares if the marketing's not out there. But I for one am not going to see this the way I was excited to see There Will Be Blood or any of his other great performances.
Yeah. Something that is weirdly not generating a lot of interest is the Michael Jackson biopic called Michael. And yeah, I don't know. I actually know some people who worked on this movie. I know that they've put just a lot into it. They've had a lot of cooperation from the Michael Jackson estate, but it was also a challenging production. It also, I think, ends right before he was arrested for, child molestation. So it's just, I don't know. This is a challenging one.
Yeah,
I love his music. We don't know how we feel about going to a biopic of him, right?
Yeah. I even heard, Max, that it might be getting pushed out of this fall window. So I think it's on some release calendars, it's coming out this fall. But I will say, the same way we talked earlier that Wuthering Heights had a trailer out for a movie opening in February, there is not a trailer out for the Michael movie yet. That's odd. That's very odd.
Push it real good.
All right, Max. I think we're almost through our sus section, but I think this might be one of the coup de grace. What do you think about the movie Tron Ares?
I mean, I saw the last Tron movie. I was excited to see the last Tron movie, and it was a snooze. And when the first Tron movie came out, it also didn't work. Why are we making a third Tron movie? I don't understand. Also, why is Jared Leto the star of this movie? I actually went back and looked at his last 10 or so years at the box office. He's really not a reliable draw. And since the trailer for this movie came out, he's had 9 other women accuse him of sexual assault, many of them before they were 18 years old. So why is he around? Why does this movie exist?
From the guy that brought you Morbius isn't going to get you excited about Tron.
Yeah, from the worst Joker and the guy who brought you Morbius and the dude who played cartoon Mario in House of Gucci. I don't, it's such a, and it's Disney. Mm-hmm. It's not like A24. It's the Walt Disney Corporation. This guy has a lot of credible accusations of having sex with underage girls. What is he doing associated with the Walt Disney Corporation?
They are clearly, in their marketing, they are clearly banking on the visuals and the sound. And they are showing very splashy visuals of the world of Tron in a major city. And they're also touting the fact that Nine Inch Nails did the soundtrack for it. And that is about it. They are not talking about who the star is of the film or doing even much character development. So I think they're just trying to make this a movie that is flashing pretty lights and sounding pretty for your viewer. It's not going to get me, I'll tell you.
The last one was the same exact marketing strategy, except with Daft Punk instead of Nine Inch Nails. Daft Punk got a lot of praise. People love that album. The Nine Inch Nails song that came out is awesome. I'm sure we'll listen to that. I don't think this movie's going to work.
Yeah.
Lastly, we're going to close out just with a couple of interesting observations. I thought it was kind of interesting that there are a lot of comedies coming out in the fall, including a couple we didn't mention. One of them called Bad Man with Rainn Wilson, another called Code 3 with Seann William Scott. But it's it's like 5 or 6, a lot of good ones. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
And the last interesting observation is, even though it's spooky season and it's October, there's not a lot of horror coming out. We got Strangers 2, we got Blood Lake. Those are 2 movies we didn't mention. Then we got Black Phone and Good Boy. And I think that's it. And that was kind of weird to me.
No major release on Halloween Day, which happens to fall on a Friday. Wow. I noticed that there is no major release on that day, which is very unusual. But Max, this was so fun. I love talking top 10 with you. It's so fun to be this time of year with all these great, exciting movies ahead of us. And in our heads right now, they're all masterpieces, every single one of them.
Yeah. So we'll see what delivers. We'll see what blows us away. And we'll just see you at the movies.